Mahesh sir, first of all, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to join this interview. For everyone else, I would just introduce Mahesh sir in a minute or so. So, as I told you, he is a 1991 VNIT electronics graduate. He worked for IBM for a long time, then he went to Japan, and now he is an entrepreneur. His company Nozomi Infotech works for Nikkei, which is I think one of the world's top three biggest stock exchanges. If I'm not wrong, maybe top five. His company is a services provider to the Japanese stock exchange Nikkei, and Japan is a land of opportunities, but there are a lot of challenges in terms of language, in terms of culture and all. And I personally am not very much exposed to Japan. All my exposure to Japan is mostly via my interactions with Mahesh sir that I've had over the last month or so for this workshop. So I would strongly recommend all of you to please feel free to ask any questions to Mahesh sir. I want to sincerely tell one thing. I've been interacting with a lot of startup founders, and all of them are really nice. But I think Mahesh sir has been very humble, and whenever I've pinged him and I've asked him for any kind of meeting and all, he has gone out of his way to make me comfortable. In fact, I remember the first time I set up a meeting and somehow I just could not join, and I thought that
No
maybe
problem.
this is my chance is gone. But that talks a lot about him. So, Mahesh sir, first of all, welcome to this workshop, and I think not workshop, welcome to this meeting. I think you told what I really liked about you is you said that whatever you are today is because of VNIT, and I think that's a very, very humble statement. I'm sure you would have worked really hard, and we want to really know your story. So how come you went to Japan? We know a lot of seniors are there in the US, they are in Europe and all. Can you tell us, sir, how did you end up in Japan?
Yeah, thank you, first of all, Karthik, to give me opportunity. Actually, there are tears and goosebumps. Actually, I never expected that this day will come to my life. And thanks to NIT, the platform that, Garud sir, our principal and professor, at that time, M.U. Deshpande, and Bhargav sir, and Joshi sir, all of them, and Tidke sir. These are the few names. There are a lot of people involved, and so I'm really thankful to my institution actually. And most of all, actually, this institution is built with taxpayers of India. So I salute to people of India from this discussion of ours, that they made us, because I was nobody without VNIT. So to your question, how I landed in Japan, actually it is an accident. Most of the things that happened to me, they are mostly accidents. So there is a line by Nida Fazli sir, a famous ghazal writer. मैं अपनी जिंदगी का तमाशा, I cannot remember the exact lines. जाते हैं लोग जिधर मैं उधर नहीं जाता. Uh, and that talks about my life actually. I was, after VNIT, I did MTech also from VNIT, so I was there for 6 years, 5.5 years precisely, 4 years plus immediately 1.5 years. And then after that, I joined Tata University in Mumbai. And so initially 2 years, like everybody, the dream was to go to the dreamland, US and Silicon Valley. At that time, actually, already the IT boom had started. And I joined Tata Unisys. One of my cousins is there, Nandakrishna Deshpande. Actually, he was a lawyer in Vani. He also moved to Mumbai, and he's now retired, so he's quite elder to me. I used to stay with him for 6 months, and so this was a big thing at the time, to go abroad actually. So I tried for 2 years. There were interviews, UK, US, but nothing was happening. Then I actually had decided to get married, so I went to Nagpur to get married. So I was on a long vacation. And the day I came back to Mumbai, they actually asked me uh, uh, to Big Boss's room. So in those days, there was a gossip. Like if somebody is going to Big Boss's room, that means he's going abroad. But I thought maybe he wants to see my marriage pictures, or want to have sweets with me. So I went there on the first day, first morning, first 1 hour. And then he said, okay, so there's somebody who was going to Japan. but he has vanished. And those days, people used to vanish and reappear with a different incarnation in the US. Uh, so can you go? Then I said, okay. I have been trying different places, but nothing was working out. So, and there was a pressure, and my wife actually was thinking that I think I'm bluffing to her that I'm going abroad, but nothing is happening for 2 years. So let's say I thought this is a golden chance. Let's go. Yeah, that's how the journey to Japan started, and here for last 25 years since then.
So I think, is this the lady luck, because you just got married
Yeah,
and
actually,
suddenly?
the last 25 years is all lady luck, and people who know me from my childhood, they can see two graphs actually. One is actually going down, and the other one is at that point when I got married, it's going only up.
Sir, did you have a kundali and all? I'm like joking, but like,
No. We were lovely arranged. Actually, we are relatives, but we arranged our marriage and then formally got endorsed. We might have met our childhood in some mounds or marriages, because we are relative. My kaku is my wife's mommy actually, sisters.
No, but you said you started off from a small town. I think you're from Vani,
Yeah,
and during one of my interactions with you, you said that for you coming to Nagpur itself was overwhelming,
yeah.
and then now you are a accomplished entrepreneur in Japan. So it's like a real movie kind of a story. You
Yeah,
start off.
it's like a Sarat background actually. Uh, Whatever is shown in Sarat movie or MS Dhoni is my life actually. Uh, when we were in Vani, actually, in Vani, Deshpande means a big name actually. It's like Udayan Raja Bhosle. It's a big name. But when we came to Nagpur, it was
So just a minute, Mahesh, I think you went on mute. I think, can you just unmute yourself? Uh, Hello. Yeah, sorry.
hello.
Sorry. So yeah, so we lost you when it's like Deshpande is a big name in Vani. That was.
Yeah. Actually, Deshpande is equal to agriculture. So my father was, we were landlords. We are still actually. Yesterday, my brother called me and he was actually talking about because he's also getting old. I am not there, so he said now we have to sell the land. So there were tears in both of our, eyes. That's very a delicate subject for us. So we were always, looking to go into agriculture. uh, Actually, you won't believe that I didn't go to the school until third grade, because our world was only agriculture, and agriculture. So that was our world. Nagpur was a distant, actually, impossible target for us. My mother used to say, Marathi Madhe, ki Pishwa, like my father was a lawyer, so he used to go to Nagpur and Yavatmal for his cases. So with him, bags used to travel actually. He said, she used to say, Pishwa Sudha Jata Nagpurla, Amala Kadi Jalo Mail. When will we go to Nagpur and stay there? So that was a impossible task. After that, Nagpur, Mumbai, and Tokyo, they were equally like it is like Kon Baraga Karodpati. So first one is Pada for 1 lakh, then 10 lakh, and then 1 crore. So they were all impossible tasks when we thought about that. But now actually it's like Sant Gnaneshwar Maharaj, he says that Sahaj actually it happens when it starts happening, it happens very easily. Because mainly because of the platform provided by VNIT. Such a that international runway in the childhood we used to, and uh, my relatives are there all over in Nagpur, so we used to visit Nagpur very frequently. But we never stayed there, and it was maybe this jungle of VNIT. We used to see it from outside, but never believed that we can be part of that story, which actually brought tears to my eyes. I'm now actually, after completing the round, it's again, talking to you guys, it gives me a different level of emotion.
I think that it's absolutely your humility, because we remember when we got into VNIT, we thought we are better than everyone else. You guys outside non-VNITians, you are different. So we used to think that was arrogance probably when we had from that thing. So how did you achieve all this, and how, I mean, you must have gone through a lot of struggles and adjustments. I mean, you say that it's luck, but I think hard for someone like me to believe that it's only luck. I think, you must have worked really hard. So what are your, I think, 3 or 4 things that you would like to tell the current youth who are trying to make it big in the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, one of the things is I always wanted to be very, very, even though even today I don't like the look like a alpha man in the society, but I always wanted to be with alpha people actually. And so when I came to VRC, I already decided actually. When I entered, actually, I got admission. I could get anywhere, and computer science was starting that year. But there was because we come from orthodox family, they said, okay, no, 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 electronics is established, so we go for electronics. And then from second year uh, I tried a lot of things, but nobody allowed me to change to computer science. But I had already decided when I got into VNIT, I am going to go into software. At that time, actually, the computers were newly coming. There was a basic course in VNIT, so it was like air conditioning. You have to take the chappals out and things like that. And there was a Apple computer actually in Dharampet. There was a DTP shop. I think they still have, but that time having an Apple computer was a big thing. So we used to go for a project report there. So I was always fascinated by computers. And then actually we were, even though I got admission to NIT, but there were no actually money to support my living. So my brother and my sister, elder sister, they used to send me money. My father used to send, but that was not enough. So actually, I got an educational loan from State Bank of India main branch. Uh, there were a manager called Ramesh Chandra Pathak. He was very kind actually. In those days, you couldn't get vehicle loans and housing loans. But the educational loans, nobody had heard. But I don't know what happened. He was like God sent to me, and he approved my educational loan. I got that. Then I used to work with Mr. Sudhir Bode. They have a company there in near the Shankar Nagar post office. So after the college, I used to go there, and they used to sell computers, and uh, there was some work of DBase, Foxbase, accounting entries, data entry, whatever. Uh, and it used to give me a feeling of a working person actually, because college uh, feeling is different. But I wanted to feel like going with people on scooter and taking the computer CRT displays here and there. So most of the time I used to be at their office. In the evening, used to go to MIDC, past Hingnam, and then sometimes I used to come in directly in the morning to the college. So Sudhir Bude has helped me a lot, and that used to pay for my pocket money. And then after that, when I got into MTech, there was 1,800 rupees stipend per month I was getting. So that was stable actually income. Plus this income from Sudhir Bude business algorithm was going on. So that was a struggle in Nagpur. But there was a childhood struggle in my hometown. That was with family, so they huge support from my parents and brother and two sisters. So that was a period in Nagpur where actually it could have misfired and I would have gone back to Vani.
Yeah.
But
But
after that, there was no looking back, because the platform from VNIT is such an international platform that it gets stamped. And there were already people in Japan who had come from VNIT here. In fact, Dinesh Jain sir was actually the head of Tata Unisys. I actually joined as an entry level engineer, but he was heading it. So VNIT brand, everybody knew about it.
wow, I think Dinesh Jain sir heads Nagpur first.
Yes,
I
yes.
think he's, yeah. So, I mean, what what prompted you to leave Tata Unisys and start on your own? Did you start right after Tata Unisys, or what made that transition from working for a big conglomerate to starting on your own?
Actually, Tata Unisys too. I was working with the French bank then for 10 years. With Tata Unisys, when I got in, I was working with them for 2 years in Mumbai, 2 years in Tokyo. But there was a big hole actually. That was the mainframes, and I never liked it. There also, like the electronics to computer science change. I used to struggle. They put me in C++ or client server, because that and there was a group called ATG, Advanced Technology Group, but nobody will listen because Otherwise, everybody will start asking for those changes. So I decided now enough is enough. I have to get into C++. But in Tata University, we're working on Algol. This is a mainframe systems programming language. And COBOL Algol is like English type language, but C++ is not actually. C++ pointers is a different world. So I used to go for interviews in Tokyo, and it was horrible. Actually, people really kicked me out from many interviews because the pointers with one line actually you can decide whether this guy knows C++ or not. So it was again a miracle that struck that in 1 year when after I came here, my mother died actually. So we went there that year, and the next year also we went for the Varshashraddha first Barsi. At that time, before going, actually I had given some interviews here. So we were there in my hometown, and then there was a call actually. At that time, we didn't have a phone also at our house in the morning. So then they sent me an offer letter to the court actually, morning court, because there was no fax machine elsewhere. And that was a deep second break actually, which I got. Then I got into the C++ side, client servers, and new technologies. And then that was a huge break because then we went on to become the trading system I developed became very big that we were trading 20% of Nikkei futures and options. Nikkei is the biggest futures contract in Asia and second biggest after the Chicago Mercantile Exchange in terms of index futures. So it gave a huge break actually. But that also was a big part of destiny because I was the most, not qualified for that role because they were just short and I had gone on vacation. There was a friend of mine, Sandeep Bhorkar, actually, who pushed my case and he got me that job. And his wife went to our locked house in Tokyo and then applied for visa. So without their help, actually, I could not have got into because this demand supply and it's like a suitcase actually. When you want to go somewhere and you actually pack the suitcase, uh, there are only the objects which are visible, they go in the suitcase. So you have to be in the radar actually because the modern multinational, they are not like waiting for months together for hiring people. They just say, I put $1 million, I want people. And then these things happen in seconds or in days. So you really need to have those that kind of friend circle who can push you actually. It's like pushing in the suitcase, then you travel in the suitcase. So whichever items are there, they are getting packed and they go. So you have to have a lot of support actually.
So, I mean, how? I mean, it's absolutely amazing. So you must be having, tremendous amount of EQ to go with your IQ as well. Because, like, why would otherwise a friend will? So, how? I mean, so my question to you is like in today's transactional world, wherein everyone says, "Arey, if I want to join this, what am I going to get out of this talk?" So I don't want to join. How important is it for an entrepreneur to have a network, to have this holistic friend circle and all, and how does it help? How has it helped you become what you are?
Yeah, there are three phases actually of selection. The selection is not selection actually, it is elimination. So because other people get eliminated, you get selected. So that's the first phase. And then after that, there are two more phases actually. Then you become front runner with your work and also with the EQ. Because how you behave, are you a team player or not? And, especially in these markets where things are happening in nanosecond. The market actually yesterday I got a call from one of my friends, but I had slept because the markets are going 24/7. So 9 o'clock also only I had slept actually yesterday because you are running and I have to close the positions also because the market closed on Saturday morning. So every Saturday I wake up at 3 o'clock because after the US close, I have to close the position. So, you are part of that process. And with that combination of EQ, IQ, how you behave, whether you are trustworthy or not, all these actually form a package, then you become front runner. And the third phase, after you have have some gray hair, I have lost hair also. Then you become obvious actually. After a certain time, your selection is obvious actually, because there is nobody in the race. So it has to have a combination. So actually, it comes from our upbringing from a small town, because in a small town, you're part of cricket, you're part of Ganpati, you're part of everything. Yeah, you're part of Eid and you're part of Christmas, everything. Uh, so here also, when we came, there were very few Indians actually. So uh, we were actually having get-togethers. Once there was a advertise in a newspaper actually, English newspaper. My boss brought the newspaper to me, and it was written on that. "Mala Marathi bola hai sir." There were not Marathi people actually. There was a girl from Kobe who had come for higher education in Tokyo. She is born and brought up here. She was actually third generation. Her father also was born and brought up here. And they wanted to learn Marathi. She could not find anything through embassy also, so she put an ad. And then my wife went Tokyo, Yokohama is like Pune, like Mumbai and Thane. So it's a twin city. So she went. So basically, the whole upbringing from a small town is like सब में घुस जाना है. So actually, when you go to a bigger city, you get specialized and you get compartmentalized. But even today, in my mind, it's only a small Vani actually. There is one road going to Nagpur, one road going to Yatma, and three roads going into the Vani city. So I work on a smaller unit actually, even though I'm part of a mega city, but in my mind it is small actually. Uh, so that's how it gets actually connected.
So when you, I mean, this is something we've had so many other interviews in this, and we've asked about what are the challenges that you face while hiring people and all. But I wanted to understand here that how difficult is it to start a business in a foreign land where you really don't know anyone? I mean, Japan, I don't know, but like in many countries, it can be like just one change in rule and your business can be gone. And so, how did you decide that I want to start this, I want to move into this, and what are the challenges? What are your takeaways that you would want to share with our participants today who want to start something probably someday outside India as well?
Actually, I'm not a good example because, as I said, God was with me and I was always supported by people who were highly talented. When I came here, when I joined Credit Agricole and we were, the system that we made, actually, my team made, I was the leader of the team, but my team made that system. We were trading 20% of Nikkei. So the main market players actually knew us. There used to be a trader in Osaka. Osaka is like the second biggest city in Japan. So I used to go, there is something called as options expiry. So even for Nifty, you have the second Friday probably. In Japan, it is second Friday. So second Friday morning, you have to deliver the underlying, like the stocks, 225 stocks. So there is an option in the morning. So I used to take the bullet train in the night of Thursday. And I used to go there because this trader was our biggest customer. And he used to trade 20% of Nikkei market. So one order of his used to be $5 million. He used to actually at 8:59:59, I was going to be, by his side just to make sure that he is not anxious because the software was built by my team. So he used to press go actually to fill all the boxes. Nikkei to do buy sell 500 Nikkei. One Nikkei is $10,000. So 500 Nikkei, $5 million, and push that. At 10:59, 8:59:59. So because my team and one of the things that happened to me was when I joined Credit Agricole, our boss Dorai was just a visionary. Actually, he was also from Tata Unisys, and he used to know everything. He had made that culture of knowing everything. So he used to shout at me and say, "Okay, Mahesh, you know nothing." Actually, when I joined initially, because even though he was a manager in Japan, people from Singapore used to call because the banks run on big, there is a batch processing in the every day, so that the next day accounts are opened up. So the Jakarta to Afghanistan is running in Singapore. So when the batch fails, the whole bank in Asia would come to a standstill. They will call Durai, and we used to pick a phone, and the operator used to say, "Okay, batch fail हो गया है, क्या करने का?" And Durai used to say कि उसको बोलो कि 403 फेल हो गया तो 407 with parameter 6 लगाओ, वो चला गया. So was the mastery of Durai, and then I just started copying him because there was no other way to survive there, because it just was a tremendous charged up culture that if you don't perform, then you're out of the game actually. So it's because of the legacy. Then his boss Pierre Russo is now the head of equity, global equity in Hong Kong, and François Moria in Paris. But that team was a charged up team. So it's my God's grace uh, that I luckily got into from a mainframe background. Suddenly got into that charged up team there. So to answer your question, because of that legacy, starting a business was very easy for me. I was actually the head of IT for Asia when I started my business. I was going for just one day meeting to London, and the taxi used to come to my place. I used to stay in a hotel which is bigger than in Tokyo. The apartments are small, but in Manhattan, I had stayed in a hotel which is bigger than my apartment in Tokyo. And I used to go for just one day meeting there. Go and come back Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday back to Tokyo. So there was so much of a reputation. So actually, you guys are really courageous because you're starting after your graduation. Uh, for me, it was all obvious. From the day one, I became a consultant. I quit the job. I became a consultant to my previous employer. There were two engineers working for them, so there was cash flow from the beginning, and also a lot of people like this trader, and there were people all around the meaning. There were people in New York and in London. They all put money in my company. So it was just a smooth sailing, like Dhaneshwar Maharaj says, "Sahaj Nitu Dala." Just very easily transitioned. And, so I may not be a right example for you guys actually.
But sir, I mean, you make it sound so simple because so many people find it difficult to just survive even in investment banking world. I've seen people who burn out in 2 years, 3 years, and they say anything, Baba, I don't want the money. I just want to have a peaceful job. So what made, I mean, what helped you?
So the burnout is a real issue. I actually got burned out, and in 2006 I was in Nagpur on vacation for 3 months. I did all. I went to even Sudhir Bhave sir, the psychiatrist, and I had Panchakarma also. I was on vacation 3 months. So that is real actually. You never, you are all red-eyed and all you. There used to be pain behind my eyes and inside my brain actually. So some of my wife's friends actually told my wife that your husband probably has a brain cancer actually. So
Oh my God.
that is a difficult part of life. But then my company was so supportive that they allowed me to go on vacation. Actually, in 2001, and that time actually Shashikant sir helped me also because my father was sick and my mother, my sister was lonely and she had to be her marriage was approaching, so I had to be there to have uh, part of the process of finding a groom. So I used to spend 3 months there in Nagpur and 3 months in Tokyo, and that also Dorai allowed me. So it's actually this is a very rare case because unless you have people who know you and also they have that kind of nature or that kind of humility to allow certain employee to go on vacation for 3 months. And that time actually in Nagpur when this twin tower blast happened in New York, I was actually working as a consultant with Lambent with Shashi sir. Shashi sir also was very supportive because he in those 3 months he made sure that I have something there. So it's like combination of people.
Wow. I mean, so what is, I mean, I know that networking is something very important and all, but what is, your success mantra? And I can't take luck as an answer from you now. So if you have to, because
Yeah.
we have so many people, we want to emulate you. It's like every one of us would want to be like you, I'm sure everyone wants. So if what is it that we should start doing differently so that we can have that chance of reaching the success that you have reached?
Yeah, actually, because of VNIT, you're already global. You have already the kind of IQ. Actually, I inheriting IQ from my mother. She was extraordinary. She used to recite Ganpati, Gajan Maharaj Pothi, and Gita and Shakespeare, Napoleon Bonaparte, just like that. I even today don't know her formal education, but she didn't pass matric. My father was a very balanced personality. So it's actually both. My mother used, because of my mother, I'm rising very fast, and my father actually keeps me stable. So when the plane is actually rising, it shakes. So you need another factor there to keep it stable. So it's a combination of both. You can term IQ and EQ. That works, and it actually happens automatically because we are in a global environment, and you have to be part of a fast-moving industry. Basically, if you are in a stagnated industry, then issues like politics or gossip, they come into picture. But when things are into a fast-moving industry, now there's talk of Bitcoin, whether it's legal or not, it's a different story. But and the financial transformation that is going on, the fintech. So even if in a bank I would have got into a team which is more static, I would have stagnated there. But I always wanted to be a different kind of IT manager. And there was a lot of gossip behind me. So they used to say this guy is sales guy. He's not an IT manager because I used to go with these traders. Nobody even used to pick up phone actually. Because in the morning when the trading floor is like a machi bazar, people have thrown keyboards and mouse at me. So I used to go under the table also. As the CTO of Asia Pacific, morning time, everybody's same. If the lights are not all green, then anything can happen. In the evening, it is all goody goody. But the morning, millions of dollars are traded. So I've taken that, but you have to be part of a fast moving. There is a concept of change the bank and run the bank in all the banks. And probably it came through Credit Suisse, but now all the banks actually use those terms. So if you're part of the change of the bank, change the bank, it is a stable kind of, you are looking at a future. So there are actually opportunities, but also the run the bank teams also get a lot of importance in the bank. So you have to be because it's like there are 50,000 people employed working in the Crédit Agricole Bank. It's like the largest bank in France and one of the 10 largest in the world. So there also I could have got stagnated, but I always made a point that I want to be part of a fast-moving industry, which is unlike for a person from Vani, because he has so many challenges that he cannot actually keep on jumping all the time. But thanks, God was with me, so I could jump it very easily all those times.
So I think, because you took so many chances, I'm sure there must have been many rejections and failures as well. So how important do you think it is for an entrepreneur to digest all these failures and disappointments? Because I think once you are in sales, you try selling to 10 people, one of them will buy. And all my friends in sales have said that you have to learn to live with all these things. So what will be your mantra for all our struggling entrepreneurs, that when the chips are down, what has helped you so that people can emulate and get that courage to really start afresh the next day?
Yeah, actually, it's like a test match. You have to keep bowling at the fourth imaginary stump all the time. So now the WTC is going to start today, World Test Championship. So you will see that in the morning session and afternoon session there are no wickets actually. The wicket falls in clusters, but the criteria for you is actually you have to be very simple, very basic, very boring work you have to do, but very consistent actually. This first two sessions you have to bowl in the sun and take all the heat. In the third session you get wickets. So and one of the thing I want to tell all the entrepreneurs is how to celebrate that. Actually, the best thing to celebrate about entrepreneurship, because you've done this emotional arbitrage. Arbitrage again is a financial word. You sell commodity in Tokyo and buy in Singapore. So you have given up on the stable emotions, and you're going for a ecstasy, kind of a very high kind of emotion as being an entrepreneur. So when that happens, actually, you give a party to your team, you give a party to your family and all your friends. But that you do the following day, uh, Hello.
We can hear you, sir.
Yeah. But that day, actually, those moments are not going to come because they're rare moments. So you should take out your car, or in Tokyo, there are a lot of shrines. I go there, and you should just cry because this is the difficult of all. And बाकी दूसरे को पता ही नहीं चलेगा कि आपने कितने पापड़ बेले वो सक्सेस लाने के लिए. So the entrepreneurial life has a dark side also. Sometimes you just become lonely and nobody is going to be with you. So you have to enjoy those moments.
Okay.
I have
So,
lost your video. Okay,
I
I'm
can,
back.
yeah. I think, sir, we are like at 11:35 or 11:37, so we will have to go to audience questions. So I see a question raised hand. Rujuta Kakade. So can you please unmute yourself and ask? Please go ahead and ask your question.
Giving the opportunity to ask this. I actually wanted to ask a question. Hello, Mahesh sir. It's really admirable how you came from small town like Vani and you went to a new country and work for that country's stock exchange, which is one of the top 5 in Asia. Like, how did you face any hardships when you're working for the stock exchange? Would you like to give us any tips for that stock exchange?
Yeah, actually, the hardship is everybody is doing that. I mean, in Japan or now even in India, you're working for almost 14 hours a day. So I don't think the hardship is very different. But as I said, you have to be part of a fast-moving industry, and then only as a startup or as a small business you can flourish, because there will be a lot of big players in the industry. So they are called elephants. Elephants cannot dance. They are inflexible. So they are working on large ticket projects. So there are the Ideal, IBM, Microsoft, those kind of companies. So if you want to stand out as a startup, then you have to be able to dance. Today you're going east, then tomorrow you should be ready to go west. You have to be flexible and you have to be continuously looking at the newer technologies. Then only there is a chance for you to get in. So that involves a lot of courage and a lot of hard work, because the new technologies will be expensive, so you cannot get in. So you have to go with different avenues to get access.
Did you face any language barriers? Like, did you know Japanese before going to Japan, or did you learn there?
No. When I came here, I only knew one word, like sayonara, and I was in no mood to learn a different language. But here it's like you are thrown into water, so you have to learn swimming.
Yes.
So, but it becomes easier when you are in Japan to learn the language. It's much easier than when you are in India. Actually, I know people in India who have traveled with Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and they have never been to Japan, but they can do that kind of a level of translation, where he's talking to the head of the state, Maharashtra Chief Minister. So it is also possible, even if you are in India and not in Japan, to have that kind of a level of fluency in Japanese and to study there. But that is relatively difficult.
So we have a question. Sorry, do you have another question, Rujuta? Rujuta, sorry, not Rujuta.
No, sir, that's it.
Okay,
Namaskar, sir.
Subhash has a question. Subhash.
Yes, sir. Namaskar, Deshpande, sir. Me, Subhash Shirsat. All about Japan. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. तुम्हाला बघून खूप आनंद वाटला आणि नमस्कार सर. आणि खरंच तुम्ही आपल्या महाराष्ट्राची, विदर्भाची आणि भारताची मान खूप उंचपणे उंचावली आहे. त्याबद्दल मला खूप अभिमान वाटतोय तुमचा. आणि मला आज खूपच भरून आलं. आय एम रिअली हॅपी टू सी मिस्टर देशपांडे सर हिअर in Japan, having a great success entrepreneur. And my question to Deshpande sir is, sir, how is the future of Indian students who learn Japanese and want to search a job in Japan? Please, sir.
There are a lot of opportunities that are coming up in India itself because there are a lot of projects that Japan government is running in India. One of the project is a bullet train project between Ahmedabad and Mumbai. Then there are several infrastructure projects. There was like 20 years back, there was a Mumbai-Delhi industrial corridor. So they have built 19 corridors between Mumbai and Delhi. So that kind of corridor also is coming in south, and it is not a single project. The bullet train also is going to be all over India. So they are inviting 50,000 people to get trained for, because bullet train is going to be different technologies. One of our friend is actually in the participant. He is my classmate from VNIT 91. He is a big shot in Delhi, Lodi Road. He's working with Jitendra Singh, working with Indian Railways. So he's aware of these kind of projects that are going on. And one of the big thing about Jitendra Singh is actually he was instrumental in running the oxygen trains recently. So I actually belong to that gifted batch also from VNIT, who have worked, at a different capacity. Coming to your question, actually there are opportunities in India itself. There's all the US world equivalent Fortune 500. In Nikkei, we should say Nikkei 225 companies. They're also the listed companies on Tokyo Stock Exchange. So in the US, the catchword is Fortune 500. So equivalent of that in Japan, they already have offices in India. Actually, in Nozomi, between 2003 and 2008, we had run a Japanese school in Nagpur, and we had actually taught about 500 people, and they also come from even smaller players than Warning. People who have worked on fields, and their actually siblings even don't know Marathi. So this guy Ganesh Putane is our one of the role models. He's not only learned Marathi, Hindi, English, and Japanese. He's working at Fujitsu Consulting in Pune, and he travels to Tokyo. So people can follow their role models. Actually, as I said, I'm because of VNIT, I have been very lucky to get in the business. But people like Ganesh, and we have a lot of people, Roshan Chimankar, then Kunal Savarkar, and I will give you a list of people who have made it big in India itself, even without coming to Japan. But one of the things that I must tell is, yesterday also Sujata-san mentioned in our LinkedIn post that the level 5, level 4 is not going to do. You have to aim for at least level 2. And that's where the difference actually lies. So you have to have a significant amount of time dedicated to Japanese language, and then only you can cross that barrier.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, one more question. How is the future for automobile engineers, fresh and experienced people in Japan who pass the JLPT entry exams?
Yeah, in addition to the Japanese, there is also there is a technology used by the automobile for designing. So CAD, something called a CAD, right? The CAD is actually the industrial drawing, but there is a term there in automobile engineering. Actually, our people who studied in Nagpur in 2003, 2008, now they have become middle managers. They are working all kinds of companies, Toyota, Honda, Mitsubishi, you name it, and they are all mostly from rural background.
Sir, so everyone, guys, there are like 6 or 7 questions pending. So we will cover all the questions. We have time. We can go ahead. Mr. Mahbub Hussain sir says that Jitendra Singh is watching this session along with other batchmates like
Anand. Mahbub is there. I saw
yeah. So he says 91 batch rocks, and it surely does. So
we have people actually. Prashant Pise was ambassador to Tunisia. Then Nitin Bhavangure, he was a honcho in Google in India. Then Shirish Andare, who is CTO of Uber. I will go on naming. Everybody is a star actually. It's a galaxy.
Yes, and thank you so much. I mean, we are really, on behalf of the entire VNIT fraternity, we really want to thank all you seniors for, setting up such great examples for all of us. But I think I have a question from Shri Anant Sherekar. So, sir, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? There are like 5-6 questions, so I will come to everyone. So please be patient. Mr. Sherekar.
Namaskar. Good evening.
Namaskar. Anant is also from 91.
Good. Yeah, so we are the batchmates from 87 to 91, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to ask the question. Okay, just one question: that what is the drive you are getting as a you are from electronics core competency, but now you are connected along with that with the stock. So what is that point? How you turn to this thing? Just a small question.
So I think Anant, you're asking whether I should have stuck to electronics engineering.
Yeah.
Why you changed?
And no, not I'm changing. It's along with that one you are taking in the stock. So what is that motivation turns to you to this side?
अरे ये पूरा भगवान की माया है actually. I just want to be with alpha males, which is a very difficult thing because there are groups and but somehow it works all the time. I want to get into the latest technology all the time.
Yeah.
But today also, my kids actually they bring me newer ideas and how to use Zoom, for example. I spoke to my kids today to manage Zoom. So I think, and the other thing is being flexible. Actually, I don't want to be part of a certain community. Actually, I just want
so
to.
No, that is okay. You're taken it in a positive way and the move ahead. It's very strongly. So that's a nicely appreciable that thing. So connected to the same one, just I'm asking, we are both from the nearly same background, Vidarbha. That means Nagpur, Yavatmal, and all this thing. And now I'm in the Pune. Okay. So what the message you can convey to the all the new startup who are developing the careers in your field? How you can
basically the first thing when you get up in the morning, you have to have 2 G's. One is being global. That is the first G. The second G is think about growth, because you have enormous opportunities today, and even without capital, like you can see my example. There is a joke, right? There was a guy who actually was very good at fighting all kinds of trouble. So they asked him, "What is your secret?" So he said, "I have a photograph of my wife. So you just keep my photograph, and then you."
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, I think Rajashri Pataskar madam has a question. Can you please unmute yourself, ma'am, and ask your question?
Hello, sir. Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Please go ahead.
नमस्कार महेश सर.
नमस्कार.
आपले एक गोष्ट कॉमन आहे, मी पण वणीचीच आहे.
अरे क्या बात. म्हणजे याचं श्रेय कार्तिक आणि त्यांच्या टीमला आहे नाही.
सर आपण कनेक्ट झालो होतो. माझी कॉस्मेटिक मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग कंपनी आहे. वी नीड टू एक्सपोर्ट इन जपान, आणि मी असं ऐकलं की जपान अँड जर्मनी आर द मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट कंट्रीज टू एक्सपोर्ट. सो कॅन यू गाईड मी फॉर दिस?
ऍक्च्युली काय होतं ना की या पद्धतीने या स्टॅटिस्टिकली ट्रू आहे की जपान इज डिफिकल्ट, जर्मनी इज डिफिकल्ट. ऍक्च्युली व्हेन आय वाज कमिंग फ्रॉम टाटा युनिसिस मुंबई ना, देयर यूज्ड टू बी अवर ट्रॅव्हल मॅनेजर हिंदूजा. टाटा कंपनीज they have different set of people who are working at the top. So when we used to go on Friday evening, we used to have so many passports and tickets. In those days the printed tickets were there. So Hindu just after giving me passport and ticket, he said, okay Mahesh, वो वहाँ पे तेरे को ब्रेड भी नहीं खाने को मिलेगा, इतना मुश्किल है, मत जा वहाँ पे, ये लोग तेरे को भेज रहे हैं because तू दिख रहा है कि बकरा मिला है उनको, भेज रहे तेरे को, मत जा. So actually at that time, technically Japan was in recession. It is actually recession for 25 years, but it's like a Mumbai train, right? So you just need one step, right? The trains are crowded, which is technically correct. There is no doubt. There is no doubt that Japan is difficult, but you just need one foot, right? So both things are true actually, and that you can get in also is true, and the trains are crowded is also true, and Japan is difficult also is true, but you can make it work. So, and you don't have to spend from your pocket. There are people who actually are going to help you on the way. So there is actually a saying, I was part of one session with IPH. This is Anand Nadkarni, renowned psychologist from Thane, and Sudhir Bhave from Nagpur. So in that session about happiness, there was only one sentence that if you are convinced, the world doesn't matter actually. If you are convinced yourself, whether it's Japan or Germany, it doesn't matter. Because you're not going to listen to anybody who's telling that way. And you can chart your own way.
I will need your guidance, sir, for this.
Yeah. And we can have a separate session actually, because it's a long story.
Thank you. Raj sir, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, so sorry. So there is a question from SUKR. I don't know what name. So I can see that raised hand. Can you please go ahead and ask your question? I'm just unmuting you. काही क्वेश्चन आहे का तुम्हाला?
हॅलो हॅलो मी गिरिजाताई बोलते बोबडे. खूपच मोठा झाला एकदम पाहूनच म्हणायला आलं. मी याची मोठी बहीण आहे, चुलत बहीण आहे मी, आणि हा माझा मुलगा सुकृत आहे. तर म्हणजे नागपुरात बिझनेस करायचं काय कसं काय? हॅलो
हॅलो
Hello.
So sir, I think sorry, a lot of our audience don't understand Marathi, so I'll repeat this in English. Sir, the question is like, how do you start a business being in
Nagpur or message?
Hello.
हाँ.
Can you hear me, Mahesh sir? Hello, Mahesh sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah. So their question was, sorry. So they asked in Marathi, so I'm just repeating in English so that everyone can understand. So their question is, how can one start a business while being in Nagpur? What is your recommendation? What kind of business people can start?
So we can have a separate session on that, because it's going to be a long story.
Okay. Yeah. So it's going to be a long story. So I'll go to Mayuresh Patspur. He has a question, and then we have like a queue of 7-8 questions. Okay. So others, please wait on, and we will go until at least 12:15. So please do not worry. Mayuresh, over to you.
Thank you, Karthik sir. Namaskar, Mahesh sir. My name is Mayuresh Patspur. I am from Washim district. And sorry for the changing the topic. Actually, I have been called for the trade test at CSIO Chandigarh, and you had also work in CSIO. So could you please guide me that how to prepare for this test?
No, I was not there in Chandigarh. I was in Nagpur, and then I did my project in Pilani, but that was an institute called Central Electronics Engineering Research Institute.
Okay, so sir, could you please guide me what actually happens in the trade test?
We can have a separate call.
Hey, Mayuresh, I would recommend, so this is, we should ask questions wherein, we have questions that are relevant for the entire audience. So request you, Mayuresh, to kindly hold on to this question. Mahesh sir, you can send your question. I can share Mahesh sir's contact details if you want. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mayuresh.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Jitendra Singh ji has a question. So can you please?
Yeah, hi, Mahesh.
Hi, Jitendra.
Yeah. Could you go? It's no. See, so your journey is actually very inspiring, and whatever limited experience I have, Japan is not in this country. So if you look back today, just for the benefit of all the audience and our young audience, can you just categorize or prioritize what have been the key factors in your which have helped you reach where you are today? Like if we say intelligence, education and skills, luck, networking, or sheer grit or determination?
You have summarized for me. So that's the key. Actually, I have people like you who actually do my job, and
that's the main thing.
What they have said that after the marriage everything gets changed.
Yeah, exactly. You picked up the right line. No. Actually, Jitendra, it's a combination. There is no single thing that works because the times are different. So, अलग-अलग गेंद डालना पड़ता है हर बार. तभी विकेट एक ही गेंद पे आप खेलोगे तो मोनोटोनस दूसरी साइड में पता चल जाएगा ना आपका स्ट्रेटेजी. So it's like different techniques that work, and we are into fast moving industry, so the network of people are changing continuously. People who have been in Japan when we came, they're somewhere else now. So you have to keep making. One of the difficult part is to actually network, and it has become even difficult because of COVID situation in the last 18 months. There is no face-to-face meeting, and you cannot have a feel of a person. You cannot have a very charged up discussion because of COVID. So it's all we are having it on Zoom, but it's not equivalent of a. So you have to keep a lot of time for networking. And actually, you and me studied together, so you probably know me. I was a backbencher or a very shy personality. But because of the industries that I got into, first IT, mainly driven by communication, and now capital markets and the modern finance, it's actually mainly about communication. Otherwise, Dr. Subramanian Swamy says, no, the finance is, the common sense, but people doing PhD in that. So most of it is communication. And when I was in VNIT, I was not good at communication. Actually, in fact, today also, when I travel business class to Delhi, the air hostess comes to me and she starts with Hindi actually. Sab aapko kya lena hai? And it really offends me because I expect, and I and her are meeting only once in a lifetime. So those are some of the difficulties of. I think communication is one of the most difficult thing that I have overcome over the years. And now I can communicate in Japanese, which is again a huge barrier.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think there is a question from Mr. Ram Mohan. Are you there, Ram Mohan?
Yeah, I'm there. Thank you.
Please
I'm there. Thanks, Karthik. Hello, Mahesh-san. This is Ram Mohan here. I'm part of one of the leading consulting companies. I was looking for an option in Japan. So just wanted to know what is your view on the IT and digital transformation from an insurance perspective, insurance sector perspective. Your view on insurtech industry as well. Your views will be really helpful.
Yeah, I actually am not from insurance industry. I am from the capital markets, like brokerage, sell side. That is the industry that I am. But there are a lot of Indians who are working with insurance corporations in Japan. So we can have another session. I can introduce you to them because they're really the CPOs and the big honchos in the insurance companies. The Japanese insurance companies like Tokyo Marine and Daiichi, they have tie-ups with Indian companies as well. So the insurance is one of the most important thing, business side of the financial industry. But I'm not directly involved in that, so I can introduce you to people who are from the insurance industry.
Definitely, sir. Thank you. That will be really helpful because I was looking for some options. So that will be really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Chandrakant Turareji is your classmate from Vani and he wants to say something.
He's actually from even small place from Vani. He had come to Vani in 7th grade. And he went on to work in Germany. So your bigger inspiration is Chandrakant.
Hey, Mahesh.
Hi.
Yes. Good afternoon. Yes.
Good.
Yes. So just I wanted to say.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So I just wanted to say a few words about Mahesh. So I and Mahesh both came from a small village, okay? And later I and he studied together till 10th and also 12th at Varora. And then our journey separated. He went to Japan, I went to Germany. But a few things I want to talk about Mahesh is that since I know him very well, he's a very hardworking person. Okay. And he did not wanted to show anything, whatever the greatness he had. I mean, he is truly great, but he is very much down to earth. And most importantly, he is trustworthy. Even he is in the business, but he always shows what is real. Okay. And that is the best thing I always learn from him. And today I am one of the investor into Mahesh company.
Thank
so
you.
we are now associated. We are now associated as a partners. Even though I don't have much shares, but still I very much appreciate his direction and guidance. So thank you very much, Mahesh, and it's great to collaborate with you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chandrakantji. I think we still have 5-6 questions pending. So I think Mahesh will have to, you'll have to wait for 15-20 more minutes. I think with your permission, I think we can extend, right?
Yeah, please.
So Anirudh Singh has a question. Anirudh, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, hello, sir. This is Anirudh Singh. I am VNIT 11 batch. Pass out.
Yeah, you communicated on LinkedIn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. So my question here is quite generic. So I am currently working in a multinational company where we got a chance to interact with teams and clients all across the globe. So I have worked in like for the US clients, Europe, China, Japan, Southeast Asia, Australia. This is the common perception, like people like us who are working in technology outsourcing jobs or industries, that the work culture Japan is quite strict, or I'll say demanding, as compared to US or Europe. So how much of that is correct? Like as per you, what is your thoughts on that? Just wanted to know.
It's true.
I have
they have a very rigid culture, and I think thanks to COVID that is changing now. A lot of things are going to change in Japan also, including the work culture. But if you compare to a Western kind of setup, then Japan is going to be very difficult for you, because there are rigid rules and there are no way to get out. If your boss is working, then you cannot go home actually, because the boss is the first one to go home. And I'm not trying to stereotype it, but that is the general impression that they can get. But there are companies like Rakuten. Rakuten now is one of the big listed companies. It's a unicorn. So they have people from all around the world. So there are people from 140 countries. If you go to their office, it looks like a university. So those companies are also there. Then there is a startup culture which is linked to the Silicon Valley, and now a lot of companies from Japan are investing in India. So there's a flavor of Indian culture also there. So, but your question actually is mostly related to the stereotype of Japanese companies. And there is a culture of the big four. So every industry has big four, like in financial industries, Nomura, Daiwa, in IT, it's NTT Data, Fujitsu, Toshiba. So they sometimes cannibalize their own entrepreneurship, but that is going to change. There is big debate going on there, and the government actually wants to break that for Japan to reach the next technology and business.
Right. Okay. There's a question from Atharva. Atharva, are you there, Atharva Kothe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. It was really nice listening your ordinations. So I would like, my question is sort of technical. So what's the condition of the core electronics industry in the Japan, and what kind of requirements you need to fulfill if you want to work in the core electronics field in the Japan?
Japan is a leader in core electronics. Actually, everything, as I said, is global. Actually, there are factories in China and Taiwan, and there are also, the business in the US. But Japanese brand like Sharp and Panasonic and Toshiba, big brands in electronics. So they continue to have the leadership and the IP, actually, intellectual property, number of patents in electronics. Now there is a big revolution of IoT coming, so that's actually closely related to the software industry as well. So people are trying to change to the IoT world. So there was one company in the US which I had interacted 2 weeks back. They are actually building a future of internet, which is going to be holographic. So a lot of changes are going to happen now. The world is going to be not only software, but software plus hardware. So again, the electronic boom is going to come because of that. So I think your generation is going to be very lucky in that sense. You should start looking at IoT, and it's like the future, like Ramayana Mahabharata, where people used to just come holographically, and a lot of machines are going to talk. There is going to be robots. Actually, they wanted to show the robot actually in Olympics, but because of COVID now, it's going to start in less than 1 month. But a lot of these Japanese products cannot be seen in person. They can be seen only virtually now. So Japan is always going to be leader in electronics.
Okay. We have a question from Satish Ramanna, sir. I think, Satish, sir, can you please go ahead?
Hi, Mahesh.
Hi, Satish. You're a big pillar of VNIT Startups Group.
So I'm very happy to have introduced you to this group.
Yeah, you're the person behind it.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So guys, you need to take advantage of Mahesh primarily because he is in the capital markets and he would definitely be connected to a number of investors, all the rich people out there who would be having, money to invest in companies in India. Probably if there is a forum or something like that which can really look into, probably that Mahesh can become the gateway for those kind of things. Right,
Yeah.
Mahesh?
Yeah, on a Monday morning, actually, this is Saturday today, but on a Monday morning, I can go do 3 things for you. One is actually, I can bring you investment. The second one is actually, if your company needs market, Japan market access, then I can help you. I know, lawyers and immigration lawyers, accountants, all kinds of people, sales and marketing and branding. And the third one is for a junior, not to you, you are senior to me, but for junior people, I can be their mentor. That's my 2 cents for a Monday morning discussion.
Definitely, that helps a lot of people. We need to be giving our inputs to quite a lot of them. Yeah. I've been a serial entrepreneur myself, and at any stage, obviously, my earlier projects did not require funding, so I grew it. Now I'm doing a big one, so I would also be looking into that kind of a. Right. Yeah. So over to others.
Yeah. So there is a question from Vivek Bansal, and I just need one confirmation. Mr. Viren Narkar, did I come to you for your question? You've had your question, right? Or you want to? Okay. So I will come to you, Mr. Narkar. Just sorry, there are 2 more questions. One more question after that I'll come to you. Mr. Bansal, can you please unmute yourself and speak?
Hi, Mahesh.
Hi. Vivek is also from 91 batch.
Yeah, we had a lot of interaction in Japan. I had been to Japan 2-3 times, and I tell you, Mahesh is such a good host. Then, and it is a great help when you are in Japan. Whenever I was there, we interacted a lot. I went there for business. I have my own business, so I went there for technology acquisition or getting something from there. But it is not materializing yet. I'm against making program to come there as soon as this COVID gets over.
The COVID is a big obstacle.
So Mahesh is very good help, very good asset for all VNITians. He is a great help if anybody wants anything. I'm correct?
Yeah. No, actually, when Vivek came, actually, I really felt pity for myself because I had wasted one seat from VNIT because I do nothing. I know nothing of engineering. But Vivek was taking photographs of the bus stops and the road material. He's actually such an engineer by DNA that he has
But
been.
whatever you are doing is a good thing.
Yeah.
Is it not? Yeah, absolutely.
Vivek actually really enjoys Japan because Japan is an engineering marvel.
Yes, yes.
He's taken so many photographs. When I was walking on the footpath. So for me, everything was normal, but he was taking photographs of each and everything on the footpath, the railing, the kind of sewage lines are there, the kind of, finishing of the road, the new material. And I think in Made in India is going to make a big impact because he is the real engineer.
Yeah, I think every engineer should visit Japan once.
Yeah.
It's a technology marvel.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Narkar, Viren Narkar, I think, and then there is a question from Sudhindra, and then there is also a question from Damodar. If anyone else has a question, kindly please let me know now because we will have to close. So, Mr. Narkar.
Mahesh ji, thank you very much.
Thank you, Viren ji.
And also, let me thank you for helping that Maharashtrian family who was suffering from corona in Japan, in Tokyo. I'm really grateful for that. They were all really helped a lot. That's one thing. And second thing is, I'm back in India now for a while, and I have a bucket list to visit a couple of, some places. One of them was Vadnagar, but now I must visit Vani also.
Yeah,
a lot of great people after Vadnagar, Vani. I think a lot of great people are born in Vani.
Oh, Loknaik Babuji Hane.
Yeah. Mrs. Pataskar, then other person from Germany. So I'm sure it is there in my bucket list now to visit Vani. I have a reasonably good experience with working with the Japanese. I worked with a company called Komatsu. I think it's quite a popular company, but a big company, Komatsu Manufacturing, all the earth movers, power generation, material handlers, and I think in India they are collaborating with Bharat Earth Movers Limited, this thing. So I have a reasonably good understanding about how the Japanese companies they work, their way of working.
Yeah.
Well, I was there for about almost more than 10 years with them. Visited also Kobe for a couple of times. And my question is now, apart from your stock and the capital market business, which are the other businesses have scope in Japan?
Japan is like a huge shopping mall. So there's like so many shops and manufacturing, electronics, discussed the new finance, and then there is a Bitcoin business, there is FX trading. You have opportunities everywhere, and there are a lot of Indians are coming now to Japan. When we came, there were not many, but now Japan is opening. They have started a new startup visa where you're not required to put $50,000 as a capital. You can put that. It is required after 1 year. So a lot of changes are happening. There is also the immigration of blue-collar workers. Japan is actually short of manpower, so they have opened up different visa for blue-collar workers. There are all kinds of opportunities. Actually, we are going to have session, one-to-one session, so I can go in.
Okay, we will have. Definitely, we'll have. Definitely. The other question was about you mentioned about industrial corridor. This project, I think it is there when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. That's the time it had come to me for my, studies and assistance to various people, businessmen, as well as the politicians. I still have those documents about the complete corridor. Then it went in pending for almost about 10 years, and now it is coming back again. Could you throw more light on it? How we can utilize this opportunity? This was a great opportunity. Industrial corridor from Delhi to Bombay.
Yeah.
Could you please throw light on it, because many people may not be aware of it?
Yeah, the way Japan works is there is something called ODA, Official Development Assistance. So they have built airport in Nepal, in Sri Lanka. Now there is huge investment going in Africa. So actually in Japan, the government and private sector, they move together. So there are large companies like Hitachi and Toshiba and Mitsui. These are called conglomerates. So there are about 100 big names here. And the name actually we brought in Komatsu, Kobelco. These are the on the manufacturing or civil work side. So these companies actually go there, and the government to government transaction happens through ODAs. The government will actually give them land. So the Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor was a $50 billion project at that time.
It's quite a big, quite a big project it is. So it is right now. It is in the pipeline now.
Yeah. So they have built in 19 places where.
Now, what was my understanding was most of the Japanese company who are operating in China, and they want to come out of it, and then they were looking for some kind of a place where they can shift. And India was the best, and this was one of the opportunities for them. The industrial corridor from Delhi to Mumbai, and I think there were more than, I still remember, I maybe having the list of the Japanese companies, or more than 100 companies were listed in that, which who are already operating in China, want to shift from China to India.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm sure we should work on it, and maybe you can have a separate session on it. On this particular, is a huge opportunity for Indian businessmen.
Yeah.
Okay, Maheshji, thank you very much. You have been very kind. You're saying something.
Friends of mine who are working, like one of the friend of mine, Sanjeev Sinha, he is the in charge.
Oh yes, Sanjay Sinha. Yeah, Sanjay Sinha.
In charge for the bullet train project.
Oh yeah, yes.
People are working on that side also. They also came. Sanjeev came to Japan 25 years ago, as I came.
Okay. Yeah. Now, last personal question: had you been to Ikigai?
Yeah, I learned a lot of Ikigai.
We read a lot about Ikigai, and have you visited that place, Ikigai? Definitely, it's a wonderful.
Ikigai is actually a concept. Actually, is a way of life, philosophy.
Okay. But it originated from one place in Japan, right? And that is now called as. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Maheshji.
Yeah, thank you. We have two more questions. Last two questions. Sorry, we will not be able to take any other questions after this, because we really are like in a time crunch. So Sudhindra has a questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, and good afternoon, Mahesh, sir. So my first question was something in line with what Viren sir asked. So I think you've already answered that. The question was, how are the business opportunities in the current Japanese market? And my next or the continued question is, are there any areas that are trending or will trend for next 5 to 10 years in Japan, which we Indians can leverage?
Actually, you have to work from a demand side. Normally, the tendency for an entrepreneur is actually think from a supply side. So the question is that, can Indian companies leverage? Actually, it's a global environment, so everybody can take up that chance. So there's competition from Vietnam, Philippines, and other countries in Southeast Asia. And Indian companies, I think, would say they have a little bit of a disadvantage, because the distance between India and Japan is slightly far, and also the cultures are not exactly the same. India is more following the West mixed with East culture, whereas Japan, Korea, and all of this Southeast Asia has more of East culture. So there actually you have to make adjustment. Otherwise, you can do business in Japan. So not only in the newer industries, but in the existing industries as well. Japan, like 20 years back, it was second economy. Now it's a third economy after China. So it's but it has huge opportunities in every industry. And for a startup, actually, the entry becomes even more easier. You just have to understand the work culture. One of the things in Japan is that there are 20 people in the meeting room. Actually, it's not like US. You make a call and you get business. You have to have a lot of partnerships, and therefore you have to have in your pricing room for a lot of partnerships. So in Japan, there is something which is quite 180 degrees to India. Here, everything is very expensive actually. And the reason why things are expensive is because there are a lot of partnerships involved, middlemen involved. There is a saying in Japanese that Yasukaro Warukaro. It's one thing which is cheap is actually a bad thing. So people tend to buy expensive things, but that actually ties to your question that you have to have a Japanese partner actually, and not only one, but that partner will actually introduce to another partner, and that's how the 20 people meeting room will happen. So there are these hacks actually that are involved. Otherwise, you can do business in Japan very easily.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so there is a question by Damodar, and I see a raised hand by Archana Joshi, ma'am. So Damodar, can you go first, and then we will close with the last question from Archana, ma'am.
Yeah, Mahesh, konnichiwa. Namaskar.
He's one of my mentors, and actually senior from Tata Infotech. Now he's retired this year, so it's 10 years senior to me. And he was in Japan. He and his wife, very close friend of ours, Damodar, and we have regular talk actually every month. And he is the only one person who can answer Jitendra Singh in Sanskrit.
Thanks, Mahesh. You have also been the chief director of Global Indian School in Japan, Global Indian International School. Maybe you want to share a few sentences on that wonderful work that is happening through the school, and perhaps its positive present and futuristic impact on India-Japan soft or otherwise relationship, and Adan Pradan of thoughts between Indian and Japanese parents, children, educationists, or what have you.
Yeah, actually, on Global Indian International School, I am just the director, board of directors here, but it was established here by two of my friends, Niyanta Deshpande and the founder of Global Indian Foundation in Singapore. So Atul Temurnikar. Atul Temurnikar is my senior from VNIT. So when I was head of IT for Asia I used to visit Singapore, and at that time Atul was going to establish a school in Tokyo. So we used to talk, and then the school happened in 2006, and now today we have more than 1,000 students in school. It offers CBSE, Cambridge, IB curriculums. We have from nursery, which is -2 to education. We have 3 school buildings, and about 75% people there are from India and of Indian origin, and 20% Japanese and other 5% other nationalities. And it's a huge brand globally. We have 14,000 students in Singapore, only more than 4,000, and it has received accolades from all over the place. And there was a donation from Bill Gates Foundation. It's a huge brand, Global Indian, and the founders are from Nagpur. Actually, Karthik now is interacting with them, so he has also a lot of knowledge about Global Indian. It has really brought India together with Japan. India is known for the fluency of English. With Japanese actually know English, but they think that they cannot, communicate, or they are not good in vocal English. So their Indians actually are perceived as very good in English and mathematics. All Japanese know that zero was invented in India. So there is a lot of soft power of India in Japan, and then school has epitomized that. There are a lot of events, and even the emperor had visited our school. When Prime Minister Modi came in 2014, our school kids actually they presented with him a song. So actually, even the Prime Minister knows about our school. So I'm very lucky to be part of that. But the main work is done from Singapore and the team that's based there.
Thanks,
and also we have principal and teachers and parents contributing to it.
Thanks, Mahesh. Hardik, I just wanted to, bring out this aspect of Mahesh as well. Besides his Nozomi Infotech doing wonderful finance-related work in Japan, entrepreneurial work, and the other part that he also did during 2003 to 2008 in India, fostering Indian-Japanese, relationship through educating several people, 500 students in Japanese. He talked about a while ago. This third aspect of his between the India-Japan bridge through this school that he's doing is again a phenomenal thing. I just wanted to highlight that, and that was the reason I chose to ask.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Damodar sir, for bringing out this aspect. I personally, because we are into education, I was privy to this, but thank you so much for letting everyone else know. So I think this has been a fabulous interview. We'll just take one more question, and then we are really out of time. I think we are standing between lunch and you, and we do not want to stand there. So Archana ma'am, one question, final question to you, and then probably we can close. Ma'am, can you unmute yourself, Archana? Hello.
Yes. I'm sorry, I was into something else. Namaskar, Mahesh.
Hello. He's my cousin brother. आमच्या फॅमिली मध्ये खूप मोठी फॅमिली आहे. घरचे 100 लोक आहेत, त्याच्यापैकी हा सगळ्यात मोठा भाऊ आहे.
अच्छा. Namaskar to all. My question is very simple. Okay. I think most of you here, I would divide them into two brackets. Okay. One would be the one who are entrepreneurs, and the others would be people who are not into this exact field which Mahesh is into, or they may be just the supportive type, who may look for second incomes through these financial markets. So how would you give a tip to these people?
Actually, the financial markets, let me have a disclaimer, because the instruments I am talking about, FX, futures, options, they are highly leveraged, and if you have any heart issues, diabetes, you should not go for that. As Dr. Subramanian Swami says, the finance is very, it's a common sense, but it is not actually. It's quite complicated. And one of the things is you should actually go through a fund manager. You should invest in mutual funds and have a systematic investment plan. Otherwise, you should know actually the fund managers personally, and then should invest. Otherwise, you should not invest in financial markets. You would have seen that yesterday the Gautam Adani group is actually sinking. So it could be a dangerous investment. So my tip would be to go with people whom you know actually personally, and then invest according to their advice, or with a listed like Fidelity or JP Morgan kind of a mutual fund. You should invest in stocks and FX and future options.
Okay.
So Ishant, you have 30 seconds. Okay, Ishant Kubre has a question. Just 30 seconds. Okay. Otherwise, sorry, Ishant.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
We have interacted.
Yeah, we were in touch. So I went to Japan once. We couldn't meet, and you couldn't come to 91 reunion. I guess other alums from 1991 batch I was able to meet during the reunion. So my question is very simple. So if from a future point of view, if somebody wants to like come to Japan to work, or maybe open a startup, but at the start just sort of work there and think of settling up, what are the prospects, or how open is Japan now to like other workers? Because we have
Japan needs actually a lot of entrepreneurs. There is, as I said, the government has brought up a new visa, startup visa. So earlier you used to have minimum capital commitment of $50,000, but that is delayed now for 1 year. So you can start, but that has to be approved by the local government. There is a Shibuya board government. We can have another session because it's going to be quite technical and a lot of documentation is needed there. So otherwise, there is a startup revolution going on in the world everywhere. So there are universities offering up to $150,000 of investment. If you really have, because that kind of a scheme is going to have a lot of competition. So you need to have that kind of a business plan, and you should be able to convince them. And then that actually is, you have a visa, you have investment. Also, you can get access to their dormitories, and a lot of schemes are there. And all cities like Tokyo and Fukuoka, they are competing for the startup, pie. So there are continuously changes happening. There are new schemes coming in. So it is becoming.
And what about just as a worker, if you want to come, as a maybe a software engineer, or maybe after an MBA, and sort of try to like settle there? How open is it?
There are actually joint MBAs, like Wellinger Institute has joint MBA here in Japan. So that becomes easier because then you get a brand, 1 year there, 1 year in Mumbai, 1 year in Japan. So with that, it is easier to get jobs. So you get 1 year of leeway there to search the job. Otherwise, you have a sponsor in Japan. So there is a company called Rakuten, which is people from tech universities in India. So that is one other way. The third way is actually doing post-graduation in Japan. There are multiple ways to get settled in Japan.
Okay, so thank you everyone. Thanks a lot, Mahesh sir, and thanks a lot. I mean, this is by far, I think, the most well-attended session we've had. And we would keep trying to bring in more people from the VNIT startup community. And I want every one of you to stay safe, stay home, and take care of yourself. We'll see you next month. Thank you. Thanks, Mahesh.
Thank you.